Hey everybody, and welcome to another Interstellar Modeler. It's time to return to the Star Wars universe, and in this video what I'm going to do is detail the building of this Resistance X-Wing fighter. And of course this is one of the X-Wings now from The Force Awakens, and you can see here looking at the box that there's a label now that says pre-decorated. So this is a trend now that we see in some of these kits coming out of these popular releases that come already pre-painted. So I'll show you the model here in a second, but when you look at the model you'll see it already is molded in this gray color and already has the striping and everything, so there are no decals included. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back of the box, and you can see here that it has 54 pieces and that it is a snap-tight kit, so someone from the age of 10 on up, or 8 to 10 on up I should say, should be able to construct the model without any difficulty. Being that it is a snap-tight kit, there's no cement involved, so again making it pretty simple for someone who's younger to be able to put a kit like this together. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what comes inside the kit here now. The one thing that strikes you is there are some differences from the old X-Wing. You can see that the fuselage itself is skinnier, this nose section here is longer. One thing that stands out, of course, is the configuration of the engines. You can see that they are this half-circular type of design, which of course resembles the Ralph McQuarrie concept art. As you can see, the model is already molded in a light gray color, and of course the blue striping and all these other markings here are painted on the kit as well. So it probably goes without saying I'm not going to keep it this way at all. I'm going to go ahead and repaint the kit completely. The colors I plan to use are Tester's light gray. I think that is a good choice for the body color. And then I'm going to start off with this Tamiya flat blue that I got. I might have to lighten it up to make the stripes here. And so before I proceed, I'm going to go ahead and take pictures of the kit so I know exactly where the striping is supposed to go, and I'll use those as a reference. And of course the first step before we do any of that is to prime the model kit. Now obviously if you plan to put this model together and you're going to give it to a child to use as a toy, there's not really a lot of sense in pouring a lot of effort to detailing it and painting and so forth. So obviously that's what this kit is really designed to do. But I plan to make it look more authentic, make a nice display model, so that's why we're going to go ahead and repaint the kit and do all the weathering and all that. So let me go ahead and get started here, and I will get you caught up here in just a second. Alright, so you can see I pulled some pictures off the internet to use as a reference. This of course is a Bandai kit that someone did quite an excellent job with. And we have the famous screenshot that we've all seen by now. And then this is a screenshot of J.J. Abrams, who was doing a thing with a charity, I believe, last year. And if you saw the video, you saw that there was a full-size mock-up behind him with the guy climbing into the X-Wing. And you can see there's some detailing here that we can see from this shot. Particularly you can see all the weathering that is all along the surface of the hull there. Particularly if you look at the nose piece here, there is a lot of stippling or kind of a dot-like sort of appearance there, and we're going to try and duplicate that. So you can see underneath is a little darker gray versus the lighter gray that the hull is painted, and that's what we're going to go for here. So the first thing I did was apply a darker gray undercoat. This is a mixture of Tester's medium gray with black. And I applied the same colors to the wings, and this is the other set here, and some of the other paneling here. Now if you recall, just real quickly here, just a quick summary of what the salt technique is we're going to apply hairspray and salt along the various areas that we want to have this type of appearance, and then we'll let that dry. We then apply the light gray that we're going to use as our base color, and then we'll use water to dissolve away the salt, and that should leave us that sort of appearance here when we're done. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on that, and let's just see how things turn out. Okay, so again the technique here is just taking an airbrush and just spraying a mist of hairspray onto the surface. That allows the salt to stick on there like you see here. We'll allow this to dry on here, and then we'll go ahead and paint the top coating, and then we'll dissolve the salt after that. Okay, so again what we're after is this worn look that you see here. It's kind of a stippled appearance. You have two shades there, the darker and the lighter, and you can see this is our X-Wing here. Okay, and so what I did was I just took a toothbrush and dissolved the salt away. I've already started on the bottom section here, and you can see this is the tip here. And just to show you how it works out, just simply just brush it away, dissolve it with a toothbrush. Okay, and you can see it exposes, let me get this in focus here, exposes the undercoat, leaving the two shades that we're looking for. Okay, and here's another section here. Okay, kind of like so. So I'll keep working at it and show you here when the other parts are completed. And you can see the effect of the salt technique here, as well as on this side. So we're just going to modify this even further by applying pastels and other weathering techniques here. So we'll just keep moving along, and I'll show my progress here shortly. Alright, so it's now time to reapply the blue markings along the fuselage there. And if you look at our reference photo again here, we can see that it looks chipped and worn. And in order to get this look, we're going to go ahead and use some liquid masking fluid. So my masking fluid of choice is going to be this Humbrol Maskol, and we're just going to apply it in those areas there so it dries and masks off that area so that we can apply the blue paint. And once we're done with that, we just peel it away. Now there is another panel here located on the lower part of the fuselage, and that's this panel here. And it just looks kind of dirty, so I'm not going to go ahead and paint that in any particular color, but I'm just going to use pastels to weather that in. And again, to get this sort of chipped and stippled appearance, we're going to use Maskol for that. Before applying paint, I wanted just to show you the color I settled on. That's this color by Kame Colors, I believe, is the company. Anyway, it's Magic Blue. And after doing a lot of searching and comparing and even trying to mix, I decided to go back to the hobby store, and this seemed closest to me. One quick note here, when you're trying to color match, it's going to vary, at least the shades are going to vary based on what you're looking at, because you can look at your computer screen, you can look at a photo like this. Obviously the lighting is going to make a difference as well. So it's kind of a tough thing to do. But I just decided on this color. It seemed closest to me. And the other thing I wanted to show you real quickly is the masking fluid before I added the paint. All I did was just dab some on with a fine brush just to kind of replicate the pattern that you see here. And when you apply the paint, obviously that's going to mask that area over, and we're able just to peel it away. Alright, so I'm going to go and apply the paint here, and let's just see how it turns out. Okay, and here we now have the blue stripe that's been added, and you can see that the masking fluid worked really well to give us that chipped appearance here. And I applied it throughout a couple different areas here, and on the opposite side as well. And what I'm doing with this section now is working on those darkened panels, and so what I did here was I'm just using pastels. I know I've shown this technique a number of times here, but just taking pastels here now and just applying it to the panel, making it darker. And as you can see, we also use the masking fluid here as well. Okay, so my plan is to darken this up a bit more, and then we're going to use a sealant, just a dull coat, and then dry it off, and then peel away the masking fluid. Alright, so I'll show you what that looks like when that's done. Alright, so there again, of course, is the look that we're after, and this is our version here. So far, you can see that the masking fluid there is working pretty well at creating those chipped patterns that we see on the hull there. And you can see I've already started to apply some pastels elsewhere also. One thing I did realize, though, is after I pieced this together, now this is, I'm going to take this apart again, but I just wanted to kind of see what it looked like. You can see there's a pretty heavy seam here at the nose, so we're going to have to address that at some point as well. So I have to think about how I'm going to do that. Alright, so I'm going to keep moving forward here. There's a lot more detailing to do, and of course we have to move on to the wings here. Okay guys, and here we now have the finished wings, at least in regards to painting anyway. It was quite a challenge to repaint the markings. You had to mask quite a bit along the edges. It took a while, but nonetheless it turned out okay here. And I was able to also apply the gray stripes as well. And again, you can see how the masking fluid is doing a good job, at least at getting the weathering process started here. Again, giving that chipped look to the paint. Okay, so I'm in the process now of piecing the model together. So I'm going to proceed with these instructions here. I've already put the cockpit in. The one thing you do have to do, and it makes sense obviously, is just to follow the numbers as they go along here. So just make sure you put your window in first, and then the smaller window, and then the cockpit. Because without that, this won't be able to snap in like it's supposed to. So this is what it looks like here, and I just taped it shut so that we don't end up with any problems. But unfortunately, it actually comes already painted, and for something that's supposed to be, I'm assuming a machine does this, it's kind of sloppy. There's actually a couple stains here and there, and the window, it just came right out of the package, and there was already some scratches on it. So I'm going to try and use a cotton swab, maybe clean that up a little bit, but that's what it looks like here. So I'm taping it so that way we don't end up with any mishaps, and we'll leave that sealed for now. But again, just following the numbers here, they make it pretty simple, and you really don't need a lot of glue. It is a snap-tight kit, but I am gluing a few pieces here and there just to add for more security. But just go along this numbering system and you'll be fine. Okay, so I've pieced the two halves together. That includes positioning the wings here, and so it does piece together fairly tightly. You don't really need too much glue. I did apply some glue here towards the back. But now that it's all together here, I'm now starting to work on the seam here at the nose. So we're going to have to work on that a bit, sand that away, and then reapply some of the stippling weathering that we had done. So I may have to completely repaint that and reapply the salt technique, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not too worried about it though, because it's not too difficult to do. But again, you can see the rest of it's coming along together fairly well. So after that's done, we'll continue on with applying more pastels and weathering along the wings, and but we're getting fairly close here to being completed. Alright, so I will catch you up here in just a second. Okay, so what I'm doing now is applying pastels to the model to make it look all dirty. I've already done the top side here, so of course is the bottom. Let me just show you the top side real quick. Okay, and then so when you apply pastels, you want to pick areas that you can picture in your mind would look pretty dirty. The place to start would be in corners. The nice thing about pastels, it'll bring out more contrast, accentuate shadow, so that's what you want to accomplish here. So pastels, if you're not familiar with them, look like this. It's basically a chalk-like material here that artists use for various things, and you can get something like this very inexpensively at Michael's or at Aaron Brothers or just at an art store. You take the pastel and you just grind it up into a fine powder onto some sandpaper, and then you just can easily just apply this onto your brush, and then you go to the model and start laying it down. So what you do here is you apply the pastel and you just kind of brush away from the area that you put the pastel onto. And that kind of gives you this sort of wispy appearance here, and then you just blow the excess away. And as you go along, it gets darker and darker, and then once you're completed with an area, then you can seal it with a clear coat. You can use something like this, or a dull coat of some sort. But when you apply your clear coat, you want to do a fine mist. Don't get too close to the model because it will cause the pastel to run. Okay. Once that dries, you'll see it holds it in place pretty well. So you know what, we are just about completed here, so I'm going to just go ahead and wrap up a few more things here, and then I will show you the finished model. Alright everybody, and here we now have the completed model kit. This again is the Resistance X-Wing fighter from the movie The Force Awakens. So I'm not sure what scale this is supposed to represent. There isn't one listed on the box, but the model does measure 10 inches from front to back. Now bear in mind I'm taping this on December 11th of 2015, so the movie has yet to come out, but from what I've seen both in pictures that I've gotten from the internet as well as the brief glimpses we've seen of it during the trailers, the model does appear to create a pretty good facsimile of the ship. And to review the colors I used Tester's light gray as the hull color. Beneath that I used the Duplicolor Scratch Filler Primer, which actually is a very nice color gray. It's not too dark. If you recall at the very beginning, I ended up mixing some colors together and used that as the base coat, but when I first applied the salt effect here, there was just way too much contrast. It was just too dark. So this actually serves as a pretty good paint to start with, and then applying your Tester's light gray over that. Now the blue, if you recall, I was first using Tamiya's blue. It was a just a flat blue that they have, but no matter how I mixed it, I couldn't quite match the color that I was looking for. So I went back to the model store, and this is what I got here. This is by Vallejo. It's called Game Color, and this again is a magic blue. No mixing involved, really. I think this is in and of itself just a good color to use for that blue that you're looking for the wings and the hull markings. I will say too that this particular pigment does go on really easily. I didn't have to thin it too much, and it dried fairly quickly as you put it onto the surface of the model. Also used Testors Flat Black here for the cockpit and this area here, and I also use Testors Medium Gray for a panel or two here on the hull. The engine pieces were then painted with Testors Metallizer Steel. And that was pretty much it. Really, you didn't have to use a lot of different colors here. Again, another example of how the pastels work really well. They are inexpensive, but you can use them pretty easily to create this dirtied, battle-worn look. I really enjoy using also the Maskall to create this sort of chipped effect. It makes it much better versus trying to scratch the paint off. And you can see you can spray paint or airbrush right over it. So I have to say, overall, I'm pretty happy with the way the model turned out. Real quick comparison to the old MPC kit. If you see here in the background, I do have one that I built many years ago. This model, of course, is from the original trilogy. And if you put the models side by side here, you can see that the scale is smaller for the Revell kit. The other thing that's missing is a pilot. I was really disappointed it does not include a pilot here. You know, you can open up the canopy to view the cockpit, but there's nobody sitting in it. The model does, of course, come with a droid. The BB-8 droid is what's included here versus the old R2 unit there. Alright, tell you what, let me just take a second just to rate this model now. Alright, let me go ahead and take a minute here just to rate the model. Okay, so here's my rating. Overall, I'm going to give this kit a 4. Regarding accuracy, now I haven't seen the ship on screen. We don't really have a lot of views of the ship at this point, but from what I can tell, it seems to be a pretty decent representation of the ship. Again, keeping in mind this is meant to be a simple model. No doubt the Bandai kit is much more detailed and so forth, but for what it's worth, I think it's a fairly decent representation. Ease of assembly, it was pretty simple to put together. Again, keeping in mind that this is a snap-tight kit, so it is meant to be simple. And likability, I enjoyed putting the kit together. I enjoyed working with it. Most of my time, of course, was spent with detailing and painting, as you saw, but again, it is a fun project to work with. And cost, it is coming in at $29, so that's pretty reasonable. Okay, that pretty much does it. One other thing I wanted to point out was the stand here. I don't particularly like the stand. I would recommend replacing it with something by Flight Pose. I think you'd be much happier with that. If you're not familiar with that, you can check out my video just prior to this one of the Space 1999 Hawk, and you can see that that one makes a pretty nice display. Not sure why it came out modeled this way. I tried to paint it, but for some reason it didn't come out very good, so I have to resand that. The base is supposed to either represent sand or water, I'm not quite sure, but I think you'd do a much better job by replacing that. Alright guys, well that pretty much does it for now. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me here at my YouTube channel, or you can email me at interstellarmother@gmail.com. As always, I appreciate you watching. Thanks again. Take care.